Here is a Twitter thread from the user at Turfalicious. Her name is Olivia. This was posted July 7th, 2020. You know what's so wild to me? The current leftist climate is one that is so careful to assess who has the least privilege and assign deference or priority accordingly. For example, white people are told to listen and not talk over the experiences of people of color. Abled people are told to listen and not talk over disabled folks, all of which I think is good and I agree with. However, when it comes to women and trans women, women are told to shut our cunt mouths and do whatever trans women want us to do without question, or else you're transphobic. You would think that the fact that women have been oppressed and subjugated throughout all time and across all cultures would mean more to them. You would think the fact that we have lived our entire lives as women, while trans women have not, would mean more to them. You would think that trans women would say, hey, while we consider ourselves to be women, we know that we've benefited from male privilege and contributed to the subjugation of women, so we aren't the experts on the political and social experiences of women. You would think, then, that they would defer to women, listen to women, elevate our experiences, and ask how they could help. You'd think they'd be sensitive to the fact that many women have been sexually assaulted and work with us to protect our sex-segregated spaces. You would think that they would understand that while they believe themselves to be women, they still have a male body and thus would make some women and girls feel unsafe, and respect that instead of calling abused women bigots and often telling those women to fillet them. Instead, our society celebrates it when white men in dresses tell black women to shut the fuck up and cater to them. Our society completely dismisses the concerns of women and instead demands that we accept biological men with fetishes as one of our own. How does this make sense? Why is it okay for men to lecture women on feminism and demand that we include and center men instead of actual women? Why is it okay for men to demand that we give up our sex-based protections to protect the feelings of deluded men? Why are women like J.K. Rowling blamed for male violence? Why do people demand that she be silenced instead of demanding that men stop their violence against other men who don't fit the harmful stereotype of masculinity? Why has society gone seemingly backwards? When Rowling brings up how homophobia drives some transitions, instead of screaming at her to shut the fuck up, wouldn't it make more sense for them to say, this is a real problem and we need to work to deconstruct gender roles and homophobia so these people aren't forced to transition? When Rowling brings up the fact that women need our private spaces, wouldn't it make more sense to say, yes, they do, and we as trans women should advocate for our own third space so that women feel comfortable and we are safe from male violence? The obvious answer is yes, it would make more sense and accommodates everyone involved. So why isn't that happening? Because it's now obvious that the political trans movement intentionally wants to infringe on women's sex-based rights and protections. They are not content with just ensuring their own safety and freedoms. They actively want to invade women's spaces and blur the line between trans women and women, so that women are forced to accept these intrusions and injustices without resistance, or else we're bigots. If the solution for my safety or equality ever required a vulnerable group of historically and currently oppressed people to give up their legal protections and rights and potentially expose them to danger, I would simply find another solution. It's not as if that thought has never occurred to TRAs. TERFs have tried to explain it, but they don't care, either because they have ulterior motives or because the infringement of women's rights is their actual goal. I would be remiss to not acknowledge that not all trans people are aware of or share these goals. However, it doesn't matter. Regardless of whether it truly is just a small but vocal minority, those are the people whose voices are being listened to enact political changes.